Hey, as heads up, this video is going to delve into some pretty heavy topics. If you're not into the right headspace to deal with these topics, then you can always come back another time. This game also has a lot of flashing lights, so be warned of that as well. Stay safe and enjoy. Sometimes I think that we can take the medium of gaming for granted. Nowadays, people expect things to be a certain way, at least for more mainstream games. You expect fast-paced battle royale shooters, beautiful, realistic graphics, and other stuff that I can't think of as I write this. Whoops. So thank God for indie games and everything they have to offer. Indie games allow us to experience creativity in ways that we haven't seen for quite a lot of time. From games like Hades and its sequel to more obscure works like Bomb Rush, Cyberpunk, or Close Your Eyes, the indie scene always knows how to invest creativity beyond anything a AAA dev team can ever do nowadays. And nothing says creativity quite like a good horror game. From Doki Doki Literature Club to Five Nights at Freddy's, horror can make you feel more than just fright. It's a genre that allows us to tell and experience more intricate and deep stories, as well as dive into things that we might not normally be able to handle otherwise. It's almost as if that feeling of terror sets aside social norms about sensitive topics. Horror as a genre is something that really has the power to stick with you. And right now, it's the season for spooks and scares, so the time is ripe for something to shake you to the core. Signalis is an indie horror game developed by German studio Rose Engine. The game came out in 2022 to incredible success, with a lot of people praising its atmosphere and storytelling. The game has you playing as LSTR-512, or Elster for short, searching for someone incredibly important to you. It's a long way down on the descent to madness, so let's see what this game has to offer, shall we? Now, the game does something incredibly interesting right from the get-go. We get the logos for who made and published the game, shout out to Rose Engine again, but instead of landing on a title screen, we find ourselves at the menu first and foremost. Honestly, this is really nice because I always go down to the menu anyways because games are usually so loud on startup. It's here where we also get to determine things like our control scheme, the difficulty, and even this really cool option to have film grain and a CRT mode. Normally I love playing with these on because it really makes me feel like I'm a kid again, staying up late in a dark room with only the flickering TV to illuminate me. But for this video, I'm gonna keep it off since it helps make the recording easier. And, by the way, you're gonna be seeing these gray borders on the left and right screen for some of the footage. I'm actually playing this game on my Switch, so I'm using my capture card to record the footage. Unfortunately, I messed with my settings a while back and messed this up and didn't notice this issue until looking back at my footage right now. But if I find a way to fix this, then this part of the script won't be here. But if it isn't, I'll figure out a workaround for some of the bigger cutscenes. But enough talk about the menu. It's time for us to begin our journey. The game begins with text telling us to wake up, and we find ourselves doing just that from this pod here. Wherever we are, this place doesn't seem too welcoming. Red lights are flashing all over the place, and pipes seem to be burst. A few doors down, and we find out where we are is called a Penrose, or at least that's the classification name for the ship. We find a small note in the room of what's called a Gestalt. That's the name for humans, by the way. It's smeared and torn, but some parts of it remain legible. It tells someone waking up from a cryo sleep in an empty mess hall. They seem to know who we are, but whatever's going on here, it doesn't seem to be going well at all. A few rooms away, we seem to find a chamber that has two sections for suits. The one on the left has already been taken, so perhaps that Gestalt whose note we found is searching for us? But for now, it seems we need to find a keycard to get a suit of our own, so we get to searching. At the control room, we see a picture taped to the controls. This must be the Gestalt we're looking for. This is our... On the back of the photo is an image showing the solution to a puzzle at the end of this hallway. We input the proper pattern and release the lock on the cryo chamber and find... no one? Strange. We do at least find a keycard for the suit, but it's broken. At the very least, we do find that one thing seems to be affected no matter how far into the future we go. Tape! We tape up the keycard and swipe it on through with ease, unlocking the AVA suit for us to go exploring on land. Wherever we are. We head out onto the snowy landscape of wherever the Penrose 512 crashed, and keep walking until we find some weird cubes, and just a little further, an odd archway. Passing through it, we find a big hole with steps down. At the bottom, yet another hole. With no other options but to crawl through it, we find ourselves in a small room. There's a safe with 3 locks, a door we can't seem to go through, a radio, and a computer. But most interestingly of all, there's a book on the edge of the table called The King in Yellow. Upon picking up the book, the computer screen turns on and begins to send us a message. A series of numbers flash by along with some images of Elster and a few other odd locations. Then the screen turns a scarlet red as words flood our mind. Our face tears away as the parts within bear the truth. That things have learned to walk that ought to crawl, and to remember to promise, our promise. Come to our senses facing a mirror in a bathroom. We're here to find someone. It's time to go get her. Wherever we were, it doesn't matter now. We emerge from the bathroom and find out we're now inside the mining facility S-23 Sierpinski on the planet Lang. We seem to have come through on a lift, but we won't need to be going back. Not until we find her. We unlock the door to our right with the receptionist's keycard sitting about and take a look around Sierpinski. There are propaganda posters plastered all over the walls, but something more interesting is hiding. We still have the photograph from the Penrose, but something's different about it. You may not notice unless you look for it, but puzzle solution on the back is gone. Strange. We had to find a few dead Yule units lying around in the hallway with no apparent cause of death, and a little further ahead still we find someone who's actually alive. This is the Star unit, and she seems to be pretty banged up to say the least. Regardless, we ask her if she's seen Alina, and she gives us some helpful information. She says that all Gestalt workers were sent down to the mines, but that we'll need an administrator's keycard if we want to make it down there. We decide to leave her alone and take a card nearby that unlocks a room we found earlier. Inside is a note talking about a banned word that's punishable by law, and a handy little tool to help us on our journey. This right here is the Type 75 semi-automatic pistol, and our ticket to dealing with any horror we'll soon be facing here at Sierpinski. And it's here where we should talk about the gameplay of Signalis. The game is a survival horror straight down to its core, putting with the likes of classics like Silent Hill, which is a game series I've never played, but I'll get to it one day, and Resident Evil, right from the point and fire uncertainty of the gameplay that feels straight from Resident Evil Remake, right down to the classic weapon choices the game provides. Throughout the game, Elster gets access to a variety of different weapons that tick off the classic survival horror game checklist. Starting with the pistol, we pretty quickly get access to a shotgun, and further down the line get the genre staple revolver and rifle. However, just because Elster's packing some heat, doesn't mean that the corrupted replica units are just gonna take it lying down. You can shoot and take down other replicas, but there's a catch. Bodies you take down can come back up, and if you don't use the thermite flares or a flare gun, both of which are very limited in uses, it won't matter how many times you take an enemy down, they can just keep coming back up. This, plus the 6-slot system that limits how much we can carry, helps to create such a personalized and dynamic way to play the game. I've seen quite a bit of discourse surrounding the 6-slot system, and apparently it's changed on the PC version of the game, but seeing as I'm playing on the Switch version, I don't get the choice of the expanded slot, which is good. Personally. Editor's note here. As I was getting some more footage for the game, turns out the game actually updated just recently, and this option is now available for Switch. So, cool. I mean, I still didn't use it, but, I mean, it's cool that it's there now. I love how the system makes me think. I can't just go around picking up everything like a kleptomaniac, but instead I need to think carefully about not only what I pick up, but what I even bring from the box to begin with. Do I feel like I need more firepower? I can always carry more weapons or ammo, but that would limit how much healing and key items I can bring. Do I even need to bring healing? Sure, some degree of mistakes can be made, but I can always pick up healing items lying around the facility instead of needing to bring some. And do I even need to bring a certain key item? Maybe I'll need some more free spaces for wherever I'm going. It's these kind of thoughts and decisions that really make playing Signalis such a fun time, even if the crushing anxiety of Sierpinski tries to make you think otherwise. But back to the game itself, we find yet another survivor named Isa Ito. Like us, she doesn't seem to be from this facility either, and she's looking for someone. And she somehow knows that we're looking for someone too? Strange. We use an aperture card we found with the pistol to find out the code to this wall safe, where we pick up the key card inside and make our way into the classroom where there's a big hole in the floor. With nowhere left to go but down, we make our way to the second floor of the facility. We pick up the service hatch key from a nearby elevator and actually find a note written by Alina. She seems slightly ill and misses us. How sweet. We keep going and use the service hatch key we got to begin unlocking the store. This puzzle is actually pretty neat, albeit simple. You have to lockpick the door by making all the pins perfectly align with this line here using some super cool futuristic lockpick. Going through the door, we're able to enter a hallway and find a save room. As an aside, I wanted to quickly divert from the game and talk about myself for a moment. You see, this is where I ended my first session. It was pretty late and I had to go to bed early for work the next morning, and I kid you not, that night I had an actual nightmare about this game. Okay, not exactly about Signalis, more so using the style and themes of the game. I remember red flashing lights and a feeling of not knowing who I really am, as if another entity entirely was controlling my husk. But at the same time, I was still there. I could remember memories and locations that weren't mine, and it was genuinely really creepy. I'd had a nightmare due to media since I dreamed Anakin came into my theater and killed everybody when I saw Revenge of the Sith as a kid. And it was at that moment, the Signalis stream, not the Anakin one, that I knew this game was special and that I needed to talk about it. So let's get back to it. Back to the game itself, we got a bit of exploring to do. Find a few keys and make our way down to the southern side of the facility until we run into yet another replica. This storage unit doesn't really matter that much, or at the very least I didn't exhaust her dialogue, so I don't think she does. But more importantly, we find this keycard that turns out to actually be Alina Seo's, our Gestalt. We use it to open up the West Wing and pick up this half of the key along the way. We pick up the other half of the key in the showers and try to make a friend. It didn't work.
Talk to him.
I don't think I should.
I think you should. They look lonely.
Hey, you doing alright? They were a bitch. Making it a bit further before heading towards the box to use this key on, we find a list of frequencies on this bloody operating table here that'll come in handy later. We make our way to unlock the butterfly box, and it turns out there's some weird tablet inside. After touching it, we get an odd vision of a wall of flesh, as well as some place that we can use this plate we just nabbed. Then, we appear at some radio transmission station in the frozen land. We find on the front door that this is Station 6 of the planet Rotfront, and within, we get a chip upgrade allowing Elster to tune into radio waves. And it might just be me, but I swear I heard someone crying behind this locked door.
You kicked that child.
Okay, I'm glad I wasn't the only one hearing that kid.
No, I'm talking about a cutscene right
Oh.
now. I don't know what you're talking about.
Regardless, we make it back to S23 Sierpinski, and now we have the radio to use all over the station. We then spend the next 20 minutes being lost because I am too stupid to put two and two together, but when I finally get my head out of my ass, we head up to the wall safe and use the radio along with the list of frequencies to pull out a code and input it, letting us the replica ID card to use on the elevator, except when we try to go down, the elevator eats our card, tells us we're a piece of shit, spits on us, and kicks us out on the 3rd floor. What the fuck? Power interruption. Control system is rebooting. Failure F4. Oh. This card impounded. Please contact administrator. Sorry, buddy. We're stuck on floor 3.
That's not where I wanted to go.
Yeah, I put it in 4, but they thought I was going a bit too deep and they confiscated the card. It's here where we pick up the shotgun and get to explore our surroundings. We find an access card printer just above the save room, and a few rooms down, an x-ray chamber where we can take a look at items held in custody. There's not a lot we can do with the stuff right now, but it'll become invaluable for solving puzzles on this floor. It's also here on this floor where we encounter the Aura units. These replicas will pop out of the ground and make a beeline for you, and they always scare the shit out of me, especially when you're just trying to pick up an item and they swipe at you. We make our way deeper into the facility and find a still functional Yule unit in existential dread about her situation. But again, I didn't exhaust her dialogue because Elster's a woman on a mission, and we need to find her Gestalt before things go from bad to worse. We need to find the translation for this safe. The code is showing letters, not numbers, and we find that just a few rooms down, but more interestingly, we find a door with 5 empty key slots. We don't have any of the keys right now though, so for now we head back and solve the safe puzzle to get access to another upgrade called the Eidetic module, as well as another key card. Now, the Eidetic module is an item that can hold a few images to help you solve puzzles around Sierpinski, but honestly, it's probably the most useless item in this entire game. Well, yes, you can use it to help solving with puzzles. It's honestly a beginner's trap sort of item. It takes up one of your precious 6 item slots, which I don't really get since it's an eyeball, but whatever. What this item is really here for is to help incentivize players into going out of their way to try and actively jot things down. Whether it be taking notes on paper or taking screenshots on your system, either option basically neutralizes the eidetic module, while also investing the player deeper in the world of Signalis by having you actively remember to then take notes of important details. As for the keycard though, that's going to be far more useful. So we take a trip back to rearrange our items and head for the incinerator room, where I need to talk about a very small gripe I have with this game. I hate that fucker.
Like, we'd have to find all the
Let me in.
Yeah.
I don't know if this was fixed in an update for PC or something. Again, I'm playing on Switch, but as far as I'm aware, the doors in this game suck. See, you can't just press A on a door to walk through it like any normal game. No, you need to find and wait for the pop-up to show up on screen to interact with it, and this pop-up can be pretty finicky. If you're too close to the door, sometimes I'll just make the prompt disappear and you'll be ramming your head against the door, begging to be let in, while enemies are right on your ass. This hasn't really got me killed or anything, but it did happen frequently enough to where I was honestly getting a little frustrated with it. Moving past my personal vendetta for the halfway functional doors here in the facility, get flashbanged by the actively operational incinerator, solve a puzzle by brute forcing the solution and guessing how the mechanic works, this won't be the last time this happens, and pick up the fire key to put in that 5-lock door from earlier. We input the key into the door and make our way to yet another puzzle, this time a solution pump puzzle. Do you remember the solution puzzle from Resident Evil 2 Remake that I actively loathed? Yeah, well guess what? It's back. A, B, C, yeah I figured. Oh god, fuck. Thankfully, Signalis was kind enough to just tell me how to do the puzzle, so by brilliantly following the instructions as written, we pumped the water that was stopping us from dropping to the 4th floor, and head on down to pick up 2 more keys, the water key and the blink key. We drop off the water key at the door, get jump scared by a Yule, find out that the item pickup prompt doesn't pause the game thanks to Inara, and make our way all the way back to earlier room with a cassette tape we picked up to play the video on it. We find ourselves on a train. A woman with white hair is sitting down on the opposite end, staring blankly at the ground. The area feels so peaceful, yet so empty. The woman disappears with the flicker of a light. She leaves behind the gold key. We pick it up and take it back with us, dropping it off at the door. We then take a quick visit to the examination room to pick up a socket as well as the wrench it goes to so that we can head back downstairs and undo the grate on this vent to pick up the air key. One more key to go. We take the blank key we got a bit back and bring it to that printer from way earlier in the floor. You see, the actual final key is lodged into some rock for some reason, but with the x-ray scan, we can see the pattern that was on it and duplicate it here at the printer, giving us a copy of the earth key, finally unlocking that big door. Heading inside, we find some healing, ammo, and the save station staples. So, as one might assume, it's time to encounter the first boss of the game, MNHR, Mina. Now, Mina looks pretty scary with her big daddy-like armor and laser cannon aimed directly at us, along with some units to keep us busy, and if you aren't sure what to do, this fight can be pretty challenging. You can't actually damage her at any time. She'll attempt to attack you for a little while, but eventually she'll fall to her knees and her mask will open as she spews out some sort of liquid. It's only at this point where you can actually fire at Mina and do some damage. Unfortunately, this boss has one tiny issue. You aren't really told what to do for this fight, and that wouldn't be a problem if your visual cue could actually be seen half the time. This didn't give me much issue, but just because of the way the camera is positioned, you won't actually get to see the mask open all the time if she's facing away from the camera. This poses an issue if you're actively firing at her and she drops down, leading you to believe that you're doing something even when you're not. Again, this wasn't a big issue for me though, so after some well-placed shots and a good amount of weaved lasers, we take down this mountain of a woman. After taking down the Mina, we get introduced to a new replica unit, ADLR, or Adler, otherwise known by me and Will as famous lawyer Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer. It's Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer.
I'll fight for you.
Welcome to our facility. Can I
like
help
a really bad green screen explosion, cowboy hat, sledgehammer.
You've caught us at an unfortunate time. You know what? Can you do the fucking Jim Adler voice for this?
How can I help you?
It's just Torg. I'm looking for a gestalt.
That's a shame. He must not have been insured. A worker at our facility? Let me see that picture. Certified bad bitch. I believe she was one of our factory workers. However... Oh! You shouldn't have returned. I'm Nega Adler.
And I won't fight for you. So, with the Ulster being pushed into the elevator shaft, we instead find ourselves in the eyes of Issa Ito, the gestalt we found all the way back on the first floor of S-23 Sierpinski. Except, instead of being at the mining facility, we appear to be in some sort of school. We decide to make our way to the library to find Erica, Issa's sister and the person she's searching for in Sierpinski, but instead of finding her, we see our... We wake up on a mountain of Ulster unit bodies having cushioned our fall, and with nowhere to go but deeper, we make our way to the 6th floor to investigate a way further. It's here where we encounter a new type of enemies, the Star Replicas. They're very similar to the Yule units, except they have riot shields. They usually aren't that bad to deal with, but fighting them can be a bit of a pain. Honestly, this part of the game isn't as story heavy as other parts of the game, so we're gonna do a little bit of a lightning round, as not really spoiled, genuinely fun puzzles in piecing together this area. We encounter the Kolibri, which is the absolutely most stressful enemies in the game, since they disrupt your visuals. And the only way to fight them is to tune your radio to a counter frequency and discover the real Kolibri unit. You get a fuse to activate the lift by brute forcing yet another puzzle, and use the lift to head down to the previously inaccessible 8th floor. It's here at the 8th level that we get to see the leader of Sierpinski, the replica unit FKLR, or Falca. She's unconscious, falling ill due to whatever has taken down the replicas at this facility. We read her diary and it seems she was getting visions of the same white-haired woman, as well as some red eye. Who is she? And what is she to us? I feel like I'm starting to remember something.
To my love.
Falca is holding onto something as she rests. It's a capsule with an owl design on it. We need to find out what's inside of it, but to do that, we need to do some legwork. Nearby, there's a table that holographically displays the planets of the solar system, which will come in handy for a puzzle a little later, so we take a note of it and make our way up to the northern section of this floor, where we find access to the administrator elevator. We need an access card, but we're getting closer to finding Alina. Next door, we find another important tool to help in our survival here at Sierpinski, the flashlight module. This item takes up a slot, so we'll need to think about when to bring it, but it'll help illuminate some of the dark rooms we haven't been able to explore until now. We find a series of keys leading us all across the facility, even using one to unlock the revolver, until we find the owl key to get access to a broken cassette tape. This tape needs to be repaired, but luckily for us, we yet again possess history's most valuable invention. Tape! We tape up the cassette and throw that thing into this broadcasting system to get a song playing on an available frequency. We then use this song to open up the owl box that Falco was holding on to obtain a different list of more keys until we eventually get access to Adler's room, as well as the post box key to get an item that we need here in Adler's room. Something I do want to talk about really quickly before we go deeper into Adler's room and its puzzle is in the library. There's a Kolibri unit here who seems to be injured. She tells us that she used to be able to read the minds of the other Kolibri, but now they're all out of sync, and she fears the moment her mind corrupts, just like theirs. You see, the Kolibri are something called
My love. Programming for the dream. I'm awake.
Remember the green that I find a copy of the King in Yellow hollowed out through this puzzle that I still don't really get to get an astrolabe. And speaking of puzzles I don't really get, this puzzle here in Adler's Room actually stumped me for such a long time. Except I solved it pretty quickly, at least compared to my understanding of the puzzle. See, I think this star that's unmovable is supposed to represent Heimat, the home planet of the government that the replicas serve. Then this ball is supposed to represent the planet Rotfront. This plus sign is supposed to represent Hitsa and Veneta together, and this last symbol is supposed to be Bouillon. And the only reason I'm pretty confident that's what it is because now I'm looking back at this footage and assuming that that's what it only could be. But in the moment, I just kind of assumed the first part of Heimat being the star and sort of guessed from there. Is this obvious to anybody else? Let me know in the comments because I'm still not even completely sure if the explanation of the answer I just gave right now. But now that we've stumbled our way into the answer, we find Adler's admin card for the elevator, as well as his second diary here in this room. Dude must really love expressing his feelings. Good for him. All these dates are listed for the same day though. What's going on? Fall into No! Something's wrong here. Something's not right. We need to find I mean Alina. Quickly. We make our way to the elevator and take it down. She has to be down here. We cut to a scene from somewhere deeper into the mines. Issa is hiding from Adler, who seems to be hunting her down. But she puts a knife to his skull and drops him down a hole. The camera pulls back to Elster and we get to explore the tunnel systems a bit. Not much is going on here, honestly, but we get to meet Bayo the Mina. She's slowly fading, and you can see how deeply it affects her in their dialogue. It sounds more like she is trying to convince herself that she's not worth saving, rather than convincing you. After all, Elster units are known to be solitary. I wish we could do something for her, but it's too late. All we can hope for is a peaceful passing, and unfortunately, even deeper in we find the functioning Star and Yule units, with Star's life slowly fading, and Yule crying over her body. Yule's always did get along with Stars. Star's even going through persona degradation, the process in which replicas gestalt memories and persona take over their programmed selves. And just like with Bayo, there's nothing left that we can do, so we do the only thing we can. We delve deeper. After all, Alina's not here. So after a close call encounter with the Minus Star and Yule units, that's interesting. We delve inside this hatch to drop down toward Issa encountered Adler, and with no other option, we dive into the hole. I remember being on a beach. The water was calm and snow was falling gently through the night. Words on a page read like a jumbled memory, but something felt off. Skulls littered the shore like macabre seashells. Was it really snow? Was I really there? We find ourselves at the bottom of the pit, and beyond the door lies a new facility. This is nowhere. The location feels foreign in nature. And not just foreign from the sites at S23 Sierpinski, but foreign from our reality. Doors lead to rooms that they cannot possibly lead to. Rooms seem to connect with no rhyme or reason at all, yet we still find our way through. A bit of the way, we find a hole covered in pulsating flesh. It's time for the second boss of the game, the Chimera. This fight is really unique. You won't actually be killing the Chimera as much as you try. As it turns out, all you have to do is wait for Issa to get up and fire Adler's rifle at the thing, taking it down while knocking yourself out in the process. We take Issa to a nearby medical bed and continue the search around nowhere. Now, do you remember that plate we got all the way back in the butterfly box at S23 Sierpinski? Well, it's time we collected the rest of them. The door is here in nowhere, and we need to get the rest of the plates to unlock it. First of the new plates, and really the only one I'm going to mention because that's all this section really is the plate of flesh. Now, this plate should have been the easiest to get, but because I'm a moron, I basically brute forced my way through this puzzle wrong. See, what you're supposed to do with these wires is use the flashlight to illuminate them, allowing you to see them easier. But I just sort of threw Elster at them until it decided to work. Sorry, Elster. As for the rest of the plates, okay. The world is wrong. Everything we do feels wrong. The world is based on cause and effect, but what happens when cause does not beget effect, when existence does not lead to decay? Who are we when life fades into a series of cycles, forced to live day after day after day after day after day after day? Will we still be human then? Will we even be called that? What does it mean to be human? When all is gone and we are a force, when all is gone and we are reduced to nothing more than the mud that forged us, what truly remains, nothing more than the shell of a memory long since melded into the rest. Stop! I'm still me. We have all the plates now. The plate of eternity, the plate of flesh, the plate of love, the plate of sacrifice, the plate of balance, and the plate of knowledge. We take our step through the door. This place is familiar. It was the start of our journey, and now it's the end. A red desert, a gate. Adler tells us that we're stuck. We're trapped, and there's no answer to what lies beyond the threshold. But it doesn't matter to us. We have a job to do. Alina is somewhere in there, and we've already pushed it this far. She's waiting. We walk through the sea of emptiness, through the past and into the present. Through the empty abyss, we find it. What we were looking for. The truth. It presents itself to us. Alina Seo. It wasn't her. I remember the photo. The real photo. It wasn't of Alina Seo. It was of this woman. The woman with the white hair. Ariane Young. She's who we're looking for, and she's here. She's here in the abyss on the Penrose 512, but we're not ready. Our body breaks apart as our mind shatters, destroying the illusory wall that kept us bound. Elster's eyes fade as the life leaves her eyes. Our promise, like our heart, broken and tattered. And that was Signalis, a game about a single replica unit reaching her goal, but falling to the broken whims of the universe. Even though my menu has changed. What once was Elster's carefully composed eye is now a reminder of our failed promise of what's going on. Back on the Penrose, but things seem to be different. The lights are all operational, and it seems like everything isn't broken down like the last time we were here. We commit to our duties as an Elster unit before reporting to our Gestalt, Ariane Young. We find Ariane in her quarters, and she embraces us, a tender and blissful kiss proceeding. It's our anniversary, and we celebrate with a little music and a lovely dance. This is what we were fighting for. We weren't fighting to find a lost friend or comrade, but for a love that bewitched our heart with her smile and charm. We spend the night with our love, keeping each other company in this lonely existence. The world might have holed us in, but we still have each other. But this isn't it. Those numbers, they bring us back. It's time to wake up. We have more work to do. We will our body to the real Penrose, and we find the truth. Ariane is suffering. The love of our life is withering in torment, and we couldn't save her before, but now we have a second chance. A chance to make things right, to put her out of her misery. We have to fight for our chance to save her. So after patching ourselves up with the remaining parts from our old body, we are ready to fight for our love. A beach once more floods my mind. I remember being here, but it wasn't me. A red light floods my mind as I try to recall, but it's no use. I can't remember a thing. Gestaltungsfall. Shape. Decomposition. We're back at S-23 Sierpinski, but something is vastly different. The world is corrupted, and flesh walls pervert the very area around us. We need to find Ariane. Our time is up. We make our way through a repeating hallway until we find the hole in the ground that initially led us to the second level of the facility. After diving in, we get a glimpse of Adler, now having shed his skin and revealing the flesh beneath. Issa looks horrified in a mirror, and our mind races through a thought that must be shared amongst everyone. Perhaps this is hell. And now, Rotfront. This is the final area of the game, and it's pretty hefty. The main overarching puzzle of Rotfront is this wall with the different dials on it representing each planet in the system. We need to tune them into certain ways, but we first need to find the actual positions for them, as well as an extra dial for Rotfront itself. To solve this, we need to collect these different tarot cards, 6 to be exact. I really want to push that each and every one of you experience this game, so I won't be spoiling how to get all the pieces, but I do want to talk about 2. One because of story relevance, and another because it annoyed the hell out of me. So let's talk about that annoying one first. In this room here, there's a lock safe with the 4-letter lock. With it, you can actually make a bunch of different replica names like Elster or Star, but the answer isn't anything like that. In the same room, there's a collection of 4 butterflies with one title word. Now, pareidolia basically means finding patterns where there are none, but this is just a bald-faced lie. Now, I don't know if I'm just an actual moron, but after a while in finding most of the other tarot cards, I decided to look up the answer. Turns out, pareidolia, just like any sense of joy after reading Signalis lore, doesn't exist and you should always look for signs. The butterfly actually have letters on each of their wings that spell out the puzzle answer Aeon. This puzzle was really dumb. It was basically just the game telling you not to look for something when you should. Is it just me? I hope not. The second card that I want to talk about is the Death Arcana card. Not so much about the puzzle getting to it, but what happens right before. We make our way into this room and run into Issa Ito, our only remaining ally among the corrupted space we inhabit. She tells us that she couldn't find Erica, and her eyes look empty, as if the world has broken her spirit. She says that she can't go on, and as she reaches for us, she falls to the floor and decays into the rotten memory of this planet. We see a shrine in this same room with 2 photos. One is of Erica Ito, Issa's sister, and the other, a woman named Isolda. Issa Ito, our only friend to have made it through this accursed existence on our journey to find our lover, has been dead from the start. That's how she knew. How she knew that we were searching for somebody even though we never told her. She's stuck in this loop as well, and based on some text we find here on Rotfront, it seems like she was very good friends with Ariane. We can't let Ariane keep hurting the ones she loves. Elster and now Issa, Ariane can't stop herself, so it leaves us to fulfill her promise. We do some more exploring to find the rest of the tarot cards, and the dial from Rotfront comes down with a massive meat. After solving the puzzle, you open up a tunnel. The exact same one that we went through to begin the cycle. And now, we've come back to end it. Elster recognizes this place now. It's not something foreign and odd. It's Ariane's room. We recognize the books, the computer, the closet. Despite the fact that Elster has never been in the real room herself, we recognize it as Ariane's. And do you remember the door from all the way back then? How we couldn't open it and wondered where it led to? Well, now we're ready to receive its truth. We make our way to a living room of sorts. This must have been where Ariane stayed with her aunt after she was taken away from her mother. This is the last save room of the game, so be prepared for whatever may come. This is the end. It's time to leave forever. We make our way down a hallway where we get to see notes. Not of Ariane's thoughts, but of someone else. But you see, while Ariane is most certainly the most prominent dreamer of this cursed loop, there's still someone who we've forgotten about. Someone who's also gifted with the ability of bioresonance. Bioresonance, the gift from the universe itself to bend the will and mental of those around you, to twist reality itself. That is what has manifested Ariane's plea for death into our endless loop, but that's not all. Replicas can be programmed with bioresonance too, and the ability to make people, both Gestalt and Replica, submit to your will is something valuable to any government. That is why the final boss of this game is her. The unforgiving god. The final obstacle holding the same memories as us, but with incredible bioresonance built into her form. The corrupted replica, Falca. This fight is incredibly dangerous, especially if you ignore the warning from the living room about leaving a space open. Falca will cause the whole room to distort and warp around you, even summoning some enemies for you to deal with. There's not much you can do with your weapons, but she does have a weakness. At a certain point, she will rain down her floating spears from the sky. This move is easy to dodge, but it serves another purpose. We can actually pick up the spears, and during Falca's moments of weakness, we can pierce her with our own weapons, causing the next phase of the fight to begin. At a certain point of the fight, she will begin straight up hurling distortions at you, and they can hurt quite a bit, but eventually though, through enough effort and willpower, Elster fells the unforgiving god. The Red Dunes, once more, were here. After everything, and even then, we still have one remaining obstacle. Adler. All we want is to free Ariane, our love, from this torment, to keep our promise, and yet he calls us a selfish monster. He brandishes Issa's knife against us, but we shoot him as well. He can be left for dead for all we care. We have a mission to do. For the last time, we return to the Penrose 512. It's here that we find the truth. We were never supposed to find new life on this ship. We were nothing more than a nation's propaganda, and Ariane fell for it. She suffered for so long. She succumbed to radiation and disease, and for what? So that the damn Houston nation can look better in the eyes of the public? The love of my life is rotting away in a pod. It was the least I could do. How could I kill her? She's the love of my life. But now, I'm here to make it right. I place a gentle kiss upon her head. I've come back for you. It's me, Elster. It's okay. I try to tell it to myself more than her. All this work, all this effort, and she doesn't remember me. She doesn't remember our promise. I can't go on. I feel cold. Perhaps this is hell. Please, just let me stay by your side a little longer. The feeling in my body slowly drifts. The last thing I feel is a soft weight on my head. It must have been her hand. I'm sorry, Ariane. I couldn't keep our promise again. No, that can't be how it ends. Let's rewind a bit. This is the ending I got from my playthrough of the game, called the memory ending, which, ironically enough, is the only ending of the 3 main ones where you see Ariane and her memory doesn't come back. I'll leave the remaining 2 endings a mystery for those who want to experience them on their own, but I will touch on how the endings work because I think it's neat. You see, normally multiple ending games work like how they would in, say, SMT. You get a series of choices to make, and those choices are generally independent from how you play the game, but Signalis is different. Instead of your choices affecting the ending, it's you. How you play, what you do, all of it. Were you a little coward baby who tried their best not to shoot anything that wasn't a boss? Well, you'll likely get the leave ending. Were you middle of the road like me and played somewhat conservatively? You'll get the memory ending just like me. And while this style of multiple endings is genuinely really cool and very rare to see, it can also be a bit of a hassle trying to get different endings. It encourages you to play against your own style, which, while interesting, definitely makes things a little more annoying if you want to see all the different endings yourself. But there is a 4th ending, and I'm not talking about the false ending at the end of Act 2. This ending, titled Artifact, is a secret ending that you can only get on a second playthrough. It was figured out by the community on how to achieve it, and it's really cool. I will be spoiling the biggest secret this game has, in my opinion, so if you want to skip to my closing thoughts, I'll throw a timestamp on screen now so you can skip it and figure it out for yourself. Okay? You ready? Let's get to it. Across the game, there are different frequencies that produce a particular noise. Now, I'm not too well versed in how this works, so I'm going to keep it simple. There are plenty of other videos out there that can explain it better, but from my understanding, there are certain radio waves that can be translated into images using certain software. There are 3 of these broadcasts, each one corresponding to 3 keys. 2 of them can be found within Act 1, and the last one can't be found until Act 3. The first key can be found in this cage here. The space to interact with it can be a little finicky, but it'll be here. The second key can be found in the storage room, interacting with this painting. Or more specifically, the bookcase next to it, I believe? I'm not too sure. Finally, the 3rd key can be found in the room right before you find Issa and Rotfront in the 3rd act of the game. Now, make sure to get to this before solving the tarot puzzle, by the way, otherwise you're shit out of luck. And after making sure to bring the 3 keys to the tunnel, we use them to unlock the padlock on the safe in Ariane's room. Unfortunately, there's still one last obstacle. The safe has a number pad to it, and we're going to need the access code. But, of course, you already know the passcode, don't you? You've been hearing it all game. 3, 9, 4, 8, 6, 6, 0, 1, 7, 0, 2, 4, 3, 2, 6, 0, 1, 6, 4. And with that, the safe is unlocked, and inside are lilies. We reach out for the lilies and are suddenly transported somewhere else. We place the lilies on top of the slab and collapse. Elster's body couldn't go on any further, but whatever this artifact that lies here where Ariane's body should be, I personally feel like it helped complete the loop in some way. Like, this artifact and the grand being whose eye watches over the Penrose here, with the red eye, something similar to what Falca mentioned way back. I feel like it freed everyone from this loop. There were 6 slabs, each with its own Elster dead in front of it, and there are 6 key characters to this story, besides Ariane, who's the 7th. Issa and Erika Ito, the friends that Ariane made during her time in school. Ariane's mother, whom she loved very dearly and was torn from. Falca, the director of S-23 Sierpinski, the facility Ariane avoided by boarding the Penrose 512. Adler, the loyal administrator unit who loved the second dreamer and wished to see the loop close. And finally, Ariane's lover, the only person who ever truly made her as happy and as blissful as a bird free on the wind. Elster. And as the two of their spirits entwine for one final dance, this game and this story finally comes to an end. At least, that's my interpretation of what's going on here. Signalis is an amazing game with heavy symbolic themes and ideas, so each person is going to come in and out with their own thoughts, and I love that. I'd love to discuss what each of you think about this game, and if it's something completely different from me, and chances are, it is. It's not often that a game comes by that can absolutely change the way you look at the medium of gaming as a whole, but I think Rose Engine absolutely nailed it here. I will come back to the world of Signalis, I will revisit Rotfront and S23 Strapinski, and I will cherish each moment I spend here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Remember to tell the ones you love that you care, and live life to the fullest. Happy Halloween. Goodbye.